You've seen the work we've put in and day out, challenging myths, debunking old wives' tales, and exposing poor breeding practices. Ugh. We spent years researching, studying, and applying real-world experiences to perfect the art of science of breeding. Why? Because you deserve the best, most accurate information out there. But to keep this mission alive and growing, we need your support. If you found value in the Bred to Perfection live show, take a moment, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our content. It may seem small, but every like, every subscriber, and every share helps us reach more breeders who need to hear the truth, who want to learn what it really takes to create, maintain, and improve high-quality strains. This isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. If you believe in what we're doing, if you want to help others discover the power of true breeding, help push this channel to the top. Like, subscribe, and share. Together, we make a difference. Thank you for standing with us. Now, let's get to work. Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Brett's Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife Nancy and my co-host Frank Bradley. What's up, guys?
How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good.
Hey.
Just trying to stay cool.
Did you get the video I sent you?
Yeah, that was very interesting because it was like they were, was it like 3 different pigeon breeders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were discussing how they breed and how they get their winners and how they carry their so-called families. And one guy was saying everything we say, and the other 2 were saying the opposite of what we kind of hear all the time, kind of what we're combating, trying to get people on board with what we're talking about. It was really interesting. I didn't watch the whole thing yet, and I think Frank and I are going to break that apart and maybe even make a show about it. That's how it really caught my attention. So
yeah, it was the yin and yang, I guess you could say. Good, yeah. One guy was, he was speaking like me and Kenny was, and talking about families and the purpose of breeding and breeding methods.
Yeah.
The other 2 guys was saying, "Oh, you've got these breeders and magazines that talk about line breeding and inbreeding and back crossing, and that's all hogwash. They're not doing that stuff. They're just putting it on there for a sales pitch. Is all they're doing with it,
Yeah,
and,
there's no such thing as purity of blood.
Yeah, no such thing as a true family.
Yeah.
It's a marketing arm. And the other guy was basically saying everything of me and Kenny said.
Yeah, that you can't create a family without inbreeding and that kind of thing. And it was funny how they did it, because this guy was saying what we say, and then right after him there was a guy who said the opposite, and then he said what he said, like we are, and there was another guy who said the opposite, but they weren't making sense at all. I mean, this guy was making perfect sense and why you should do it. These guys just say, no, that's nonsense. Just cross them, just breed best of the best. Everything we tell people to watch out for. So I don't know if we could show that video. I wish we could and talk
awesome
about
if
it.
we could.
It would be really
awesome.
awesome.
Could. Yeah, it would. It would open the viewers' eyes up to the controversy between the 2, and it make a great topic. Me and Kenny was talking about it. It'd make a great show. Really would.
You know what I could do for my members is I could put it on the page where I have like special videos, interesting videos. I could put it on there so they could check it out, and then we could put our video with it so they could compare. That'd be a good one. Yeah, I could probably do that.
That'd be a good idea. That'd be a great idea.
Yeah. So you got something to say, Nance?
Heck
you have that
no.
look on your face. Okay. Don't look so eager then.
I just let everybody know. I warned them about you 2 today.
Oh, the foggy brains?
Yes, you 2 foggy brain people.
Yeah. I've had probably about an hour and a half sleep since yesterday about 4:30. So
Jeez.
yeah, I'm a little bit not here right now. So look over me, guys.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, I think it's the air conditioner. And Frank said, check the filter. And I opened it up and I was like, okay, that's it. And on top of that, we're getting ready for an event. And so we're changing our sleeping patterns, and we're going to bed at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and getting up at 10 and 11. So that's messing us up too, I think.
Well, that's what's got me messed up, because we've done the same thing as work, where they've changed our hours now. So we're getting home earlier, and it's just by a few hours, but it's amazing. You get yourself on that routine, and something, you have to change it. It messes you up.
Well, the good thing is when you guys come in October, because it's the same event, you guys don't have to change your sleeping patterns whatsoever, because we're going to be working on your sleeping, on your
like last time.
hours. Yeah, just like last time.
Yeah, so, that worked out well. But the thing about it was, we was staying out till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and getting back up again at like 7:30. So.
Well, we didn't have to.
No, we didn't have to, but we had so much to do. That's what that was fine with me, because as long as I get 4 hours sleep, I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, we'll have to figure it out, because I don't think we need to get up early.
Well, I know what it was. Because we went to the event on Friday, and on Saturday we had to get down there early so that we could get preferred parking, because our lazy butts doesn't want to walk back and forth to the car that's like a mile away. So we had to get there early on Saturday. Yeah. Do I need to close things up? Can you hear that in the background?
Do I hear what?
Okay, so I guess you don't need to worry about it.
Tell me what it is, and I'll tell you if I hear it.
The neighbor is using the blower.
No.
Okay.
Doing its
That's
job.
That's what's nice about these. But you're going to hear my air conditioner. I just turn it off. If I start losing, you start seeing me sweat, I'm turning it back on. Okay. So just let you know, Dr. Gallardo, I talked to him today. He's going to be coming on the show this Monday. It's going to be a special show at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you make that. I was also talking to Peter Brown recently. He's going to be coming on the show, and he's got a few things he wants to talk about. And today we're going to be doing a continuation of a topic that we were covering, 2 weeks ago on the power selection. This is going to be selection points. Although I do want to discuss a poll that we did on YouTube and the results of that, because I found that really interesting. We are going to do a roundtable. We'll finish up at an hour here today, and then we're going to do a roundtable. So make sure you make that. And if you are interested in joining the Breeders' Academy, just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Once you join, you're going to have instant access to the website. You'll have access to the Founders Program, the Masters Class videos, the Members Roundtable, and programs and courses that all support the Founders Program. You're going to have a complete collection of the videos that we do and the audios, and as well as the daily articles. And then you're going to get expert advice from Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, Dr. Gallardo. We also do coaching calls. If you join, make sure to start with the Start Here pages. It's a good way to get going, so you're not like flailing and going everywhere. Just start there. You'll get an idea how the website's laid out and the programs that exist. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Okay, where are we at here?
Or you can scan that QR code right by Frank's head.
Yeah.
Easy way out. There you go.
Okay. So this is interesting. This is a poll I did on YouTube maybe a week or so ago. Which breeding methods is primarily used to fix or stabilize a desirable traits within the bloodline by increasing genetic uniformity? Okay. So I put what I thought was kind of the obvious, but I wanted to see where people were. And the first one was outcrossing, hybridization. The second one was inbreeding, fixation. And the third one was multiple crossing through mongrelization. Okay. And at first it was 100% for a long time on the inbreeding and fixation. And then all of a sudden here came the handful of people who believe that by fixing the strain, you need to outcross or use multiple crossing for mongrelization, Frank. It's interesting that there's still people that think like that. They don't understand that you can't fix anything if you're going to keep adding new blood. Gene flow.
Well, you're correct, Kenny, but look at it this way. If you'd put that survey up 10 years ago, I think it would have had a much lower setting as far as the inbreeding. So that shows you where the mindset's going to. So it's increasing over and over and over again. Like you said, it stayed at 100% for a long time. And it's just a few. That's really great. That shows how it's progressing to people actually using scientific information to breed with. And you can't do it, and you can't create a family, we both know, without doing inbreeding. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I thought that too. And the question I had at the time was, okay, they believe that inbreeding leads to fixation and the creation of strains, but how many believe in actually using it? And maybe I need to do a poll on that to figure out where they are. If they believe it's the tool that gets them there, but is it the tool they trust and rely on? And I said that as a tool. But if you look at all three of these, outcrossing, inbreeding, and using multiple crosses, and we're talking about like 3-way crosses, 4-way cross. Anytime you pass the 2-way cross, you go from hybridization to mongrelization. But all three of them, Frank, are tools. They're not really. I mean, they're used. If you look them up in the books, they're thought of as breeding methods, but they're actually tools because it's not something you'd use all the time. They have a particular purpose.
I done that, and I put some pictures on there, some inbred birds that I'd done this year, brother and sister matings. And I got a few comments was asked me if that method yielded better results than line breeding. And right then I knew that they didn't really understand what it was used for regularly. But with my birds, I already had them cleaned up. I've been breeding them that particular strain for almost 9 years now. So what I was doing, I was just breeding back the standouts and kind of cleaned them up, doing the Frankenstein deal on them before I actually put them through the process of the Founders Program. And, I got even down to the color, got them looking good and everything. But a lot of people thinks, well, if you inbreed them and you get any type faults, anything bad that, we've done wrong, it's bad. But they don't understand if a gene pool hasn't been cleaned up, you're going to get the gross of the gross, the bad, the mediocre, and the absolutely great. So it's just understanding the process of it. And I see that more as a tool than I do, I'm like you, Kenny, than a method.
Yeah. Well, you can look at inbreed. Actually, you could look at line breeding as a tool for fixation, but you can't do line breeding unless you first do inbreeding. Because like you said, you have to do the cleanup process first. That's the true fixation. And then line breeding comes in later down the road to kind of just perfect them, to fine tune them, to turn them into a true foundation. So inbreeding and line breeding, two completely different methods and they have different purposes completely. So, I mean, they both, I mean, if you look at the Founders Program, we have multiple methods that we use in that program. And inbreeding and line breeding is only two of them, So, but, I was thinking about the question that I gave, and when you think of outcrossing, inbreeding, and multiple crosses, basically what you're doing is you're balancing the predictability and the diversity. So you're increasing genetic diversity, you're increasing variation, and then you're balancing them. You do the inbreeding, you fixate them, and then you balance them. And once you understand how those methods work and why you're using them, because they're all great tools used for the right reason, until you understand that, you're never going to get to a point when the family is a true foundation. And that's the whole idea, is get them to a point when they're predictable, when they're uniform, consistent, predictable, and repeatable. And to the point where to me, that's when you have purity of blood. And so once you get there, then you can really call them a family. So, but you got to stop the outcrossing. You got to stop bringing in new blood all the time. Gene flow, you can't create a family until you stop the flow of genes, and you get to the point of fixation. Once you get them to a point of fixation, a certain point of purity, why would you ever add outside blood after that? So
yeah, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. When you add the blood, you're starting, completely back over. But I see this a lot. I see this more and more. People just crossing birds to non-related birds to get the hybrid bigger yield, so to say. And I promise you take good birds and you start adding blood to them, you might escape it the first breeding, but the third, the fourth, the fifth, you're just whitewashing those traits away. What made those birds special in the beginning, you're just putting them away. You've changed each mating. You've changed that bird's DNA totally, completely, never to return again. That blood is not being able to be bred out like most things. Once you put it in there, it's in there for a lifetime of that bird's lifetime, or the generation of those birds. And if you take a subpar bird and breed it into a good family, and the offspring come out, they're good in every way still, you think, oh, well, people didn't know what they're talking about. I got good results. But that's not the results you're going to see. 3, 4, 5 generations down the road is when you're going to see that mating on that subpar bird. So that's what gets you, is down the road, not the breeding that you're doing, but down the generation tree.
Yeah. Some people believe that all the generations, all the ancestors of that bird are all hiding within that bird. Yes and no, because some of them have been lost. Some of them have lost their intensity. They're there kind of, but have lost their intensity. And some of them are still there.
Dormant.
But what's that? Dormant.
Dormant.
Yeah. So you have the dormant, you have the high-low tensity side of it, and then you got where you've totally lost them. So not all the traits from their not all the traits from the ancestors are there waiting for you just to select them and pick them out, because that's the dangers of actually adding outside blood. Is not only do you sometimes eliminate some traits, not only sometimes do you change the intensity of those traits, most likely, but you actually add traits that weren't there before that are harmful, So I wouldn't rely that those traits are always going to be there, that you're going to be able to draw on them from time to time, because I just believe that, or I just know that some of the traits are going to show up, some are not going to show up the way they used to, and some are going to show up, but they might not be the ones you want. So
yeah, or they could even be lessened, the intensity knocked down from them. That where it was a good strong trait is weakened now. It's just been watered down basically, and that's what's happened. It's the traits of the bird breeding has been watered down or eliminated in total, just like Kenny was talking about.
yeah.
So it's the mindset, I think, of yesteryear that holds a lot of breeders back that would be great breeders, but the mindset that they have of yesterday holds them back.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. I can't remember how I came up with that. It just popped in my head, I think. And I was like, well, let me put that on a poll and see where it goes, And I was like, okay, well, this is a nothing burger, because everybody understands that inbreeding is fixation. And that's what you use to create a strain. But then here came the few that were against it. And I find that interesting. And it was like, I think when you do the poll, because I don't see that on my end, when you do the poll, you don't see what everybody voted for until you click on something, then you see it. Because I was thinking, if everybody's voting for inbreeding, why would these few vote for something else like outcrossing? Well, I don't think they're seeing it. So that's how they believe. That's what they believe. They actually voted on their belief.
Yeah, well, at least they was honest about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Anything what we need to address, Nancy? God, I always want to call her Tawny.
Because he's with her more than he is with me.
Not lately.
No, not lately. Not since I retired.
Just the last 30 years. Well, the last 21 anyway.
22.
The last 22 years. Yeah,
22. Exactly. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I have a question starred for at the end of the session. So no, that's it. Continue on.
So I do want to continue with the topic that we did 2 weeks ago on the power selection. Like I said, this is going to be on selection points, because I thought there was some really good stuff here that we could discuss. And so the idea here is to define your selection points. Okay. And I saw this on in a book one time. It said, define your selection points and then defend them. And I wish sometimes we could bring people on here, so if they disagree with us, we could talk and we could discuss it, but we're not going to be able to do that. And it's just too difficult to do with the chat. But there's a lot of different points of the bird, whether it's the physical side, the mental side, or the purpose of the bird. Those are all selection points, Frank, so
every aspect of that bird, from the tip of its beak to the tip of its toenail, every one of those is.
Yeah. So I thought we could discuss a handful of them. Disease resistance. That's a big one. A lot of people think they either have it or they don't, or it's something that they develop over time. But whenever you're looking at a bird and that bird's either sick, or was sick in the past, or it's never gotten sick, each one of those is a selection point. So we have to determine how important that bird is, how important that trait is to us, and then select accordingly. So we always need to select the birds, not only that we're never sick, not only how I put this, not only that are not sick now, but have never been sick. Because if they were sick in the past and they got better, then that's acquired trait. And we're not actually improving the family when we have a bird that was sick and got better. We need the birds that never got sick, because that's genetic resistance. But if you don't have it, and that's all you have, Frank, that they were all sick and some of them got better, then that's another selection point. Then we have to go with the birds that did get over it. But the idea is to find the birds that never got sick and then select those and breed to those, and try never to breed the birds that were sick or are sick.
Yeah. Today, I look at it and I see people with birds that they think has what can help them in the brood pens, but they're sick and they use synthetic medicines on them to make them better. But they're still carrying around that genetic weakness for that disease. So is the genetics that they're passing on to their offspring. And if that's on both sides, you're just going to keep having sick chicken over. You're intensifying that. Like back when I was younger, I'd take a chicken, especially a good rooster, and he could be the sick of the sick, but I thought I could breed that rooster and get away from the sickness through his offspring, but end up with everything else. And I had that mindset for a very, very long time. And I just wish I know now what I know then. It would save me a lot of time and trouble. But I think a lot of people don't look at that big picture, or even think that they can be rescued from disease or made better resistance, stronger immune systems through just breeding alone, leaving out nutrition, but breeding for resistance genetically. And I think if they took a longer look at it and read up on it, they'd see it's definitely possible to do. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah. Well, when you give them medications, you're basically hiding the disease. Now, that bird seems well because you pumped enough medications into them so that it eliminates the symptoms, but it's still carrying the disease. And because it's not genetically resistant to those diseases, now it's passing it to its offspring. And you're wondering, well, the parents seem okay, but now the offspring are all sick, So the idea is to try to find birds. And that's why I tell people, when you ever go buy birds from another breeder, I don't care who it is, try your best to find birds that aren't already sick, or if they say that they're pumping medications into them all the time or they're okay, they say, well, yeah, I take care. They get the sniffles every now and then, or they get coryza, but this is what I give them. I would just go the other way. Why spend a lot of money on birds that require medications just to stay alive? Do your best. If you're going to spend that kind of money, do your best to find a good breeder who believes in selecting for the healthy, not using medications, and you're going to do a lot better. You're going to get a lot further. And then from there, if you get some sick birds, then just get rid of the sick birds, breed to the healthy ones that never get sick. If you buy birds and this is all you can get that are sick and the guy is using medications, yeah, you're going to have to use medications. You're probably going to have to use the medications that he's using for a while, but have it in your mindset that you're going to work them off of it. So that means that because there's variation, because a lot of this, a lot of what we're going to be talking about here are all polygenic traits. They're all due to quantitative inheritance. Anytime you see variation, you're dealing with multiple genes. Those traits can be improved over time through breeding to the highest intensity, like we say. So always look for the birds, even though you got sick birds, or even you have birds that you bought that required medication and they produce sick birds. If you produce enough offspring, and that's different for every family, look for the ones that, and there'll always be some that didn't get sick. While some did, there are always going to be some that didn't get sick. And you're going to have to select those to get past it, because the whole idea is get to a point when you're not relying on those medications anymore. Fine, you have to buy the birds that need it, but start working them off of it. Within a few years, you shouldn't be using those medications anymore. If they're that weak, Frank, then you bought really poor fowl.
Yeah, well, you look at the dogs of today. They cannot survive without being wormed, vaccinated, for everything under the sun. My dogs, I've got a dog in the house right now. Well, I've got several that has never been wormed in their life. Never been wormed in their life. Now, if I saw them needing to be wormed and they had worms, yes, I would worm it for the dog's health. I'd have to. But dogs of today, animals of today, that's been wormed since they was pups or vaccinated, whatever, has never had the chance to build a resistance to any of those parasites whatsoever. So therefore, when they do ingest parasite eggs, they hatch out, they get overloaded in it because their immune system can't fight it. And that's what we're doing to our birds today. They're coming out of the egg and not even been on the ground yet, and they're worming them, giving them
I
antibiotics.
know, that's crazy.
Right off the deal. That synthetic medication is a have to. That is a last chance resort. It's not used as a prevention. It's used to save the bird's life in critical need. But people use it as a crutch every day. Oh, we got a cold spell coming in. Better run some antibiotics. Chickens will get sick. It's just a lot of it today is people thinking that they have to do that. That medication makes a family, their birds, strong.
Makes them weak. They just don't know it. I can tell you, not one bird on my farm has ever been medicated, vaccinated, never been wormed, never even needed to be deloused or deal with mites. Every bird on my farm has never seen those type of things, ever.
Well, I've said this for years now, and sickness, disease resistance, being able to fight off diseases, and basically parasite susceptibility. I think it's the weakness in the bird. I believe the bird is either unhealthy by caregiving, nutrition, genetics, but that bird has a weakness. If a bird, you take a wild animal, if it gets overloaded with parasites of any type, that bird has been injured, sick, or just genetically weak. It will not survive. But you take the others. I have never brought game home and cut them open, to field dress them, and ever found any parasites in them. Now, they're not on any type wormers or medications. What keeps them from, being susceptible to parasites? And all the ones I have were sick of some sort. They were you could tell that they were not in good health.
Yeah. The next one is fertility and hatchability. Now, fertility is not genetic, but hatchability actually is. It's inheritable. But fertility can be something that, what's the matter, Nancy?
Oh God, I'm trying to get your attention and realizing my mic is.
No, I stopped asking you because you keep telling me there's nothing there.
No, yeah, and then I'm like,
you have the same howdy doody look on your face that you did before, so I didn't know the difference. So, go ahead.
All right, getting back to the previous subject before you go on to the new subject.
I really wanted to move on.
Just real quick, I got to add something else to it. I am editing the molting show that we did last week right now, and what you're saying here about them being sick or things that you need to cull for, the ones that don't go through the molt very well.
Sure.
I mean, Frank was saying, in the part right now that I'm editing, he was talking about how if you got birds that aren't going through the molt very well, they're just not handling it, those are the ones you're going to cull. I mean, so it's not like when you go through the molt, you stop all of the selectioning and, you're on hiatus for the 6 weeks that they're molting. No, even when they're molting, you're still looking for the ones that you need to cull.
Most of our culling is done during the molt, actually, except for the obvious defects that pop up as the birds are growing and developing. A lot of the things that we select and cull are the birds during the molt because it's they're going through the most stress, actually. So
they're running the fever. They're actually sick. They're running the fever. They don't feel good. They're anemiated. But if a bird has any type issues as far as weakness, resistance, you're going to see it in the molt. The molt's going to expose a lot of faults with that bird. A lot of faults.
Yeah. Okay. Back to fertility and hatchability. Now, there's a lot of things that will make a cock infertile. Could be environment, could be nutrition, it could be all kinds of things.
Heavy
feathered.
Could
be, what's that? Heavy feathered? Yeah.
Heavy feathered.
Yeah, that just, yeah. And it could be that they're overweight, that kind of thing. So whenever you open an egg and there's nothing in there, look to the cock usually. There's something going on with that cock. And there's some things you could do. You can get them to lose a little bit of weight, maybe change its nutrition, like Frank said, trim the vent feathers, that kind of thing, and help them lose weight. And maybe that would improve them before you cull them. It could be old age too. but hatchability is inheritable, very genetic. And whenever you see eggs they have chicks in them, but they're not hatching, we could be dealing with a lethal gene. It could be genetic and genetic disorder in general. Whenever you see that, then it's the hen, and it's time to get rid of that hen. And it could be old age. She could just be old, that kind of thing. So, but those are all suction points. And whenever I see the results of the chick, whether I get a partial hatch or a full hatch, or I get none of them hatch, why didn't they hatch? Those are all different things that I'm going to either cull or select for, because I'm either going to cull a hen that's hatching. And here's the other thing too, is I'm going to select a hen that's either hatching 14 eggs, 12 or 14 eggs, or I'm going to select or cull a hen that's hatching 22 eggs. I need to determine what I'm going to do about that, because if I have a hen that typically hatches 20 some odd eggs, there's a good chance that her chicks are going to do the same thing. And I don't want to perpetuate that particular trait. So I'm going to have to select accordingly. So I like to try to keep it right around between 10 and 14 eggs per hen, but that's a selection point.
Yep. You start getting too many eggs, then they start getting busted and cracked and ruin the rest of the eggs. So you're not going to do too good with a lot of birds laying that many.
Even if a hen can hatch that many chicks, not all hens can take care of them and grow them out properly. Sure. Every hen's different. I just wouldn't want a hen. I wouldn't want a whole flock of birds or a whole strain where all the hens are hatching or trying to hatch 20 or 22 eggs, because chances are some hens are going to hatch them and be either good mothers or poor mothers. Some hens are going to try to hatch them and don't hatch hardly any of them because they're pushing the eggs in and out the whole time. So it's just not a good way to go. Then you got prepotency, which is typically a male thing. The only time prepotency is a female thing is when the cock is so poor that the hen has to make up for the cock. But usually it's a male thing. And so I want a rooster that's he's not going to exactly only pass his qualities as far as genetic traits to the offspring exactly, because the hen has a huge influence on those chicks too. But he's going to pass his qualities as far as health, vigor, stamina, all those kind of things to his offspring, because just because he's prepotent doesn't change whether some traits are expressed or not expressed. I think epigenetics has a bigger factor than prepotency. And then you got mitochondrial DNA, where the hen has a huge influence on her offspring. We talk about this all the time. We really do need to do another show on mitochondria. I just haven't decided whether I want to do it for the front end or the back end. But the hen is the matriarch of the family, because she determines the overall health of the family. She determines how those chicks are going to grow and develop, and how they're going to be when they mature. She's going to determine the overall health of the strain. A lot of what we call, disease resistance. Yeah, that's a selection point, but that also means that we have to select hens that are also healthy, which is going to help us get there too. And if we select good hens with good mitochondrial DNA, then we're going to produce chicks that also have that. And that's going to change the family for the better as you go. So mitochondrial DNA and prepotency are huge selection points that I think most people neglect. They don't even consider those things. I think it's maybe because they don't understand it.
I think that's the biggest part of it, Kenny. But we always say it: give me a mediocre rooster and a good hen any day over it being reversed.
Yeah,
any day.
Yeah, because a good hen can make up for a bad cock, but I've rarely ever seen a good cock make up for a bad hen.
Never.
Yeah.
At least in not my experience, I haven't.
No, I haven't seen it, and I've never heard any. I've seen other people too, and they had the same experience that I had. Conformation and type, or type and conformation. Now, a lot of people, and I heard it recently, where they would say, well, the conformation comes from the cock and the performance or production comes from the hen. No, those are both polygenic traits. Those are both required in both the mother and father at the highest intensity for it to be passed to the offspring properly. Okay. If you're adding new blood thinking that you're going to improve type and conformation, whatever improvements you're seeing is hybrid vigor. So it's very temporary. So if we're ever thinking about improving type and conformation, and the family we have just don't have it, and we don't have enough of the birds, they're going to get you there over time, because that's all it takes is to breed to the highest intensity. And all you really do need is one bird that has it at the highest intensity to move them forward. But if you just don't have that, then we do what we call gene chopping, and we do have a program for that, where you select the birds that you need that are going to bring in the type and conformation we're looking for. But then again, we're looking at still breeding to the highest intensity over time to actually improve it and keep it. If you think you're going to infuse new blood or cross new blood into a family and boom, you got type and conformation, carriage, station, any one of those, it just doesn't happen that way. It's what you see, what seems like an improvement is just temporary.
Hybrid vigor.
Hybrid vigor is, it's a delusion, and I hear it all the time where people say, well, I'm crossing them to improve hybrid vigor or to maintain hybrid vigor. You never improve or maintain hybrid vigor. The hybrid bird that you're looking at is the product. That's as far as it goes. Yes, you can create a family from that bird, but you got to run it through a proper breeding program like the Founders Program to actually make that work. It's not like, okay, I've got a cock, it's a hybrid, I breed it to another hen, happens to be a hybrid, boom, put them together, boom, I got a family. It doesn't work like that. You just start it.
Hybrid vigor to me is a mirage of a Pacific island out in the Sierras. It just, it's an illusion. It's not really there. You're not getting what you're actually seeing.
Hybrid birds have a purpose. I get it. Both in sport and production. I get it. Okay. But that one bird is a product. You can't keep it going. Just because that bird has good production or good performance, whatever it may be, doesn't mean it's going to pass its traits to the offspring. It has nothing to do with mitochondrial DNA. It has nothing to do with potency, because both those things only work when you're dealing with an inbred homozygous dominant strain, a pure strain. Those mitochondrial DNA and prepotency are worthless without birds that are highly inbred. Cross birds, what seems like hybrid vigor, prepotency or mitochondrial is just hybrid vigor and is very temporary. It's not what I would call true prepotency. It's going to fail you. As long as you bring that cock and you're still crossing them, you might see something that resembles that. But anything else would be a delusion.
Now, you can take that hybrid bird and let him be the matriarch or the atom into making a family in a correct way. But you can't take hybrid to hybrid to hybrid to hybrid and just keep doing that. It's just it's a downward spiral. And a lot of people says, oh, well, I've crossed hybrids together and got some good birds. Yep. It can happen. But how long is it going to last you? You can get lucky in one breeding and get some really good birds, hybrid. But, breeding to a good hen. But it's short-lived. It's not no long-term. Nancy says one and done.
Yeah. Well, whether you're dealing with hybrids or pure, your Adam and Eve have one job, and that's just to get the strain started. You're not going to be using those birds throughout the whole program, because all you're going to be doing is always reintroducing old traits that you've been trying to weed out. That's why I always tell people, don't get into the breeding program, put number of generations or number of years into that program, and then think you're going to get the benefits of bringing the original bird back into the system or into the program, because you just reintroduce all the faults that you were weeding out as you were going. You did the cleanup process for nothing, and I see that. So that's why I worry about pedigrees. People get caught up on the pedigrees, because every time you look at a pedigree, there's always animals that are reintroduced into the family every few years. Instead of like a line breeding program, you would see that same animal, and it would be one that you think is worth cloning. First of all, you would see that one animal being bred to its offspring each generation until you reach the cloning stage. Okay. But whenever you see that one bird, usually it's the atom, reintroduced every few years into the pedigree, every time you're working out those traits that are harmful or deleterious, you keep bringing that one bird back into the system, and reintroducing those things every time. And that's why they never get anywhere.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that say, well, you and Kenny say never breed a bird that you bred in the past back into the family after years of, going forward. But what if I'm getting really good birds from this bird and a certain hen? I'm getting a niche or a nick. I said, well, create you a subline. Go over to the side. Breed them all you want. We're just not saying don't put them into the intimate family to bring back old stuff that you've culled away from. Set up a sub family, breed them that way, but never put them back into that immediate family.
I would say line breed them, but my first question is, what do you consider good birds? Because what you consider good birds may not be what I consider good birds.
Well, I'm talking to
no, not you, them.
I know that. I'm saying performance for a certain performance.
So one trait. They're concerned with one trait.
No, I mean they've got it all.
Okay, that's what I mean.
They're winning with them, whatever. But rather than putting them back into the family, just run a subline. Use the birds as you need them used. Just don't breed them back into that.
No, I agree. Forward. I agree with you completely. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, they said, why can't I just keep breeding him because he produces good birds? My question is, what are you considering? Not you, them. Right. What are they considering good birds? Is it just performance, or do they have good color, good conformation, good type and performance, and good temperament? Do they have the whole package, or do they just have one trait that impresses the hell out of them? Well, because if it had everything, then I would say go ahead and line breed them, I guess. As long as you're not seeing variation, you're not seeing a difference, you're not seeing those deleterious genes popping up from time to time. If he's that good and he's producing the uniform, consistent, predictable, and repeatable offspring, then just line breed them. Fine. But it's still not a family because you only got him. You know what I mean?
But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. As long as they're serving the purpose as being used for.
No, I'm not questioning that at all. My only question is, it always goes back to the same thing. When they tell me, without me seeing the birds, and they tell me, okay, why can't I just keep breeding him? Because he produces good birds. That's what the thing I think of most of all. What are they considering good birds? Because to me, their idea of a good bird is different than my idea.
They're taking them to the show, and they're winning every show they take them to.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was talking about. Yeah. So they're guiding their decision on the performance of the bird. Yeah. There's more to the bird than that.
Yeah, but if it's doing what it's intended for, it's serving the purpose, though.
But it's not creating a family.
No.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's the reason I'm saying,
No, I'm not arguing with you at all, Frank. I agree.
But I'm playing devil. I'm trying to play Nancy. Here's what I'm doing. I'm playing Nancy.
Okay. Well, I'm still leaning towards the idea of creating a family from it someday. If it's doing its job of producing what he needs, like you said, a subline is the way to go. Perfect. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I just find it funny when they say it's producing good birds, what they consider good birds, because it's usually not what I would consider a good bird.
Yeah. But to turn around, I don't care what kind of bird he is. I don't care if he's golden monkey. Okay. If you bred him, that was your start bird, and you bred him, and say it's 3 years down the road, and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to put him back in there and put him back in the family again because he's a good bird, then you've shot yourself in the foot. You've added, even though he's a good bird, he's got bad in him, and you went forward from that, or you should have.
Never should breed backwards. That's where they make the mistake. They're making progress, and then they breed backwards. Never breed backwards.
And too, Kenny, I've had guys that was trying to go forward, and what they would do is they would get up to the birds that was excellent birds. They established a family, had them uniform, consistent, and they would say, well, I'm going to go forward. They would cull those birds that was all that, and they would cull those to go forward with the other ones before they'd even tested them, and those wouldn't be worth 10 cents. So they, in other words, jumping the gun. Without, getting ahead of themselves. I see that quite a bit too.
Yeah. Well, we say all the time, if you're curious about a bird's worth, then test them. Testing is the foundation of every breeding we do. Like Brian and I talk about it all the time, and he says it all the time, is never breed a bird into a family or create a family with it unless you actually test it to see what it's going to produce.
Yep.
You know, and I actually do think that the Adam and Eve breeding is a test. It either worked or didn't. And then we have one more stage after that that gives it one more chance. And if that doesn't work, then you got to find new Adam and Eve.
Well, you know how dangerous that is, though, to go on somebody's yard and buy a bird and know nothing about it and bring it home and
It
spend
happens
2
all the
years.
time, huh?
Yeah, 2 years, waiting for the offspring to get up to maturity just to find out that they bought junk.
Okay.
I see that happen so much. You're taking, without knowing that bird or anything about that bird's lineage, its history. I don't care who you buy it off of. You're taking a chance every time you buy that bird. You're buying it blindly because you don't know what the traits that bird holds.
That's true. And I would say the way to combat that, or the way to remedy that, is, and this is where I would do it, is when I'm starting, I have no problem going to different breeders and getting birds. And every one of those is a different Adam and Eve. And the one that works is the one I go forward with. Why would I want to waste that time with one pair and it doesn't work? And then I got to start all over, like Frank said. So I don't mind starting with multiple, I don't want to call them lines, but multiple Adam and Eves in the Genesis phase of the program to see which one has potential to actually make a family from that. Then I'll know. Then I can discard the other one. To say I have 6, okay? I breed them together. I breed each Adam and Eve together. And 3 of them proved to produce crap, okay? Boom, they're gone. Now I've got these 3. Okay, let's move them into stage 2, okay? Look at the offspring. Okay, this one produced crap, not worth going. Get rid of that one. Now I'm down to 2. Breed those. That might move me into stage 3. By then, I should know which one I'm going to move forward with. You could move forward with both, but you got to keep really good records and keep them separate, and then run 2 programs at the same time. That might work because of recumbent reciprocal selection. You might use those to get to, the crosses, the hybrids that you want. That would be a really good system. So if you're worried about just getting a pair and it not working, which would be a real bummer, then get multiple pairs. Don't cross them into each other. And try to find good fowl from good breeders and keep them together, and then do the testing that we're talking about, and you'll be miles ahead. That works out pretty good, actually.
That's what I was going to say, Kenny. Rather than them going, and this is the biggest thing, that Kenny knows this, they buy a trio. Usually that's what they get, is a trio rather than a pair. What I would do is, if you want to get a trio, that's fine. Get 2 trios or 2 pair. And like Kenny said, test those birds, mate them together, as a pair, see which one is the better producers, and go with that, discard the others. That increases your chances right there greatly.
Absolutely. And that's where I agree with Frank. And I've always been a pair kind of guy, but Frank made so much sense when he said how he would do a trio. And that is, you get a cock and 2 hens. Now the hens are, even if their sisters are not identical, okay, they could easily produce different offspring. So I breed the cock to the 2 hens. The hen that produces the best offspring, that's the direction I go. I get rid of the other one. So that I would do that. I could see you doing that. And if you got 3 trios, you could easily do that the same way.
I think that's a better road to go. But
a
lot of these guys, you go to the farm, they sell you their personal best. This is my personal brood stag, and they'll have.
Of course, it is.
People listen, they know what I'm talking about. But a lot of them, every bird he sells is his personal best or his personal brood stag or cock or whatever it is. But I'll say this: I would quit before I'd sell my personal best.
That's right.
Okay, that's just how it is. Now you might get offspring out of them, but you're not going to get my brood fowl. Those are off limits. My mother couldn't buy my brood. That's just how it is.
Okay, with that being said, we've got, 6 minutes to the end of the show, and I have
some questions. Okay, let's answer the questions and get out.
Okay. All right. This one's kind of a story, but I really think it's interesting that we should hear it, because I really want to hear what you guys have to say on what you should do. Okay, so he's met a man that took a yard full of birds out of a yard belonging to a 94-year-old man that had died. The certain people that had collected the birds gave him all of the birds that this 49-year-old man had. This man had had records of showing all his birds. Okay, so he had a long record of everything that he had done with his birds. Came from Percy Flowers, which a lot of people will probably know. The person that got them told me personally he didn't care the shape of the fowl are in right now. It's the blood that's carried on that will bring them back. Now, this is something that needs to be told about. It is when he got the birds from the certain group. The birds were emaciated. They hadn't eaten in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So here's the thing. He's a well-known breeder. He's old school. Would Kenny breed these birds back to life? Because, these birds have been, not doing so well for the last 2 weeks. They weren't sick, but like I said, they were without food and water. They were like skin and bones.
You want me to answer it or not?
So, yes, that is the storyline.
You're giving me too much.
Okay, that's the storyline. So you go from there.
Okay. So if he can bring them to at least a state of health that they can reproduce, then he can move them along. Okay. Just because they're sick and they lost weight, that kind of thing, that's not going to be passed to the that's acquired characteristics. That's not going to be passed
selection a little harder.
Yeah. But you gotta get some birds on the ground, and you got to move forward from there. And then from there, I would actually use the Founders Program, and I would select for the complete package and improve them, because he may have selected for one trait that he thought was important, but I would select and improve them for all their traits. I would select for the complete package and improve the family. And just because you're selecting for conformation doesn't mean performance goes out the window. If you're selecting for both at the same time, at the highest intensity, and you're selecting the handful that actually can move the family forward, you're going to improve that family, and you're going to improve all those traits, and you're going to make those birds better than they were when he had them. Okay. But just because they're in bad shape now, if you can bring them back to a state of health where they're at least able to reproduce themselves, fertilize eggs, lay eggs, hatch eggs, that kind of thing, and get some numbers on the ground, absolutely, you could restore that family and move that family forward.
Yeah, because he was concerned, because last week we were talking about during the molt, if you bring down the weight so far, they may not be able to come back from that.
They may not, but they still might be able to reproduce themselves. And that problem they're having isn't what's going to be passed to the next generation. The genetic makeup of that bird, the genome, is not associated with the fact he lost weight. It has nothing to do with it. Okay.
We was talking about the performance of the bird. Basically, if they get dwindled down, they lose their flesh and everything, and they come back, they'll never reach their potential as far as the performance of what they was intended for. But like Kenny said, it won't hurt the genetic, makeup for the offspring whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. So Dr. Gallardo is going to be on what day?
This coming Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, so look forward to that, guys. You'll get your notification, so make sure you click the bell so that you can get notified when Kenny and Dr. Gallardo come on.
Yeah.
All right, so Sonny's
I'm looking forward to that. He hasn't been on in a while. He went out in the country for a while. Yeah. And we kept talking and communicating back and forth, but just waiting for him to have some free time. I'm hoping to get him on, not every day, of course, but like he did before, like every so often, to talk about healthcare, disease prevention, all that kind of stuff.
Be nice to have him back.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vertical illness. If you breed a symptomatic or acquired immunity,
acquired
immunity, right?
Just read it again, because I got to use this for a podcast.
If you breed a symptomatic or required immunity bird.
You said it again. You want me to read it?
Yeah, you read it this time.
Vertical illnesses. If you breed a symptomatic or acquired immunity bird with a healthy bird, do you think the majority of the offspring will be sick? Okay. Now, vertical diseases are diseases that are passed from the hen to her baby chicks through the egg. Okay. Horizontal diseases are just passed from bird to bird just because they're in contact with each other. So vertical diseases, like we call breeder diseases, are very dangerous because once you get them, they are very hard to get rid of because the mother passes it to the daughter passes it to her children, to her offspring, and they're really difficult to get rid of. So the best you could do is, again, select the birds that never become symptomatic, cull the ones that obviously show something, never breed to the parents, okay, again, that are obviously sick or were sick. Little by little, you'll get there.
Going forward, like we talked about, right,
Yeah.
Kenny? Going forward,
Yeah.
away from it.
Yeah. It'll take some time. You got to quit. You got to not introduce new birds into your farm because just when they start getting good, you bring in a new disease and knocks them down again. Then they got to get used. Now, I do agree that they're never going to recover or build immunity to or any kind of resistance to something that they weren't exposed to. Now, I'm willing to bet, except for the big ones like Newcastle's, laryngotracheitis, and AI, I think I've had every disease out here, and I never have a sick bird.
But
So
you
I
wasn't
do
bringing
think
any birds in. You was playing good biosecurity too.
not at first I wasn't, Frank. No.
I mean, after you got them
Oh,
cleaned up.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Isolation is important. Okay.
Yeah.
Biosecurity is huge. That's one of the things I'm going to be talking with Dr. Gallardo about on Monday because it's that important. So it's not the end of the world, Sonny, but it's going to take some work if you have that problem.
Yeah, he'd need to get with Peter on that too. Peter
That's
could
true.
walk him through that, help him out with it, especially with that type disease illness.
Yep. That's Peter Brown, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've answered for Kenny, but
wait, hold on a second. Can you bring that down so just people?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how to get a hold of Peter. www.firststatevetsupply.com. He's got a great website, can help you with any of your health problems and give you the medications that you need. He's not going to give you something you don't need, and he's going to help you take care of your problems. So definitely contact Peter.
Peter knows his stuff. He's great.
Yep.
He's super at it.
Yep.
Yeah. We
okay,
love
Nancy.
Yeah. Okay. So I answered for Kenny. No, we do not incubate. But Frank, do you incubate?
I only incubate these days if I need a lot of numbers. I will use an incubator, but where I've got my family is pretty much where I want them. I don't have to have large numbers. So therefore, like this past year, I didn't turn one of them on the incubator. Now, if I was needing high numbers, I wouldn't care one bit to incubate them. But with a hen, you just get better quality out of your offspring, their offspring. You get better birds. They're more in tune with their environment. The hen teaches them so much as far as predators. Give you an idea. Back when I was incubating, chicks would be out on the yard. They'd give a distress call for like a hawk or something in the air. They just stand there. The ones that was hen hatched would run for cover. And the other ones was just like, huh, what? And that was always the first ones that would get caught by falcons, hawk, etc. But they do make smarter, I think, stronger birds from hens.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hen is better overall. I used to in the day would use the incubator for the first part of the season. At the end of the season, I'd let the hen do it. That way I knew that she wasn't losing that broody instinct and that motherly instinct. But that's when I was producing a lot of chicks. And then it's just too much work for me. And I do believe the hen is better overall. Not only that, she passes her maternal antibodies to the offspring as well. Helps them get along and gets them for the first few months off on a good, at a good start. Gets them started on the right foot, and they can, and those first 3 months are so important because once they get to that point, if they have good genetics, they're basically bulletproof at that point. So, but I did get rid of the incubators. I only use the hen now just because it was too much work.
Well, I'll say this, add one more thing to that. I don't let my hen that I'm breeding go setting until the last setting.
Yeah.
I use surrogate hens to hatch her eggs that I collect, but I will let her, the last hatch, I will let her go setting herself, just like Kenny was talking about. I want to make sure to keep the broodiness up.
Yeah, and I do that too today. If I have a hen that I'm trying to get as many chicks off of, if I have a pullet that goes broody, I'll throw some eggs under her,
You
and
lose some that way, but
yeah. Sometimes you do. I've been pretty lucky lately,
I
I've
have
been doing
to.
pretty good. So, but I wouldn't rely on her being the only one that produces those chicks because they're that important. Yeah.
What is the genetic reason fowl can be inbred so heavily versus mammals?
Okay. The genetics on birds, fish, and reptiles is different than mammals. Now, when we have the hen, like the cock has 2Z chromosomes, where the hen has 1Z and a W. Well, in mammals, it's reverse. The female has the 2X chromosomes, where the male has the Y chromosome. Okay, that's the biggest reason why we can do more. We can do more inbreeding, and then look in the wild too. Mammals don't tend to raise themselves or stay in like large flocks, that kind of thing. We see this in the wild where birds tend to be together. They're breeding to their mother, their grandmother, to their aunts, their sisters, and their daughters. Okay, they can handle a lot more inbreeding. That's the main reason. It's not mitochondrial DNA. All animals, birds, all have good mitochondrial DNA. But I think it's the difference between how the genetics are in between mammals and birds. Do you know any other reason, Frank? I think that's the biggest
the biggest
reason.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
even animals can handle it. It's
that's
just
right.
that you can't, go as deep as you can with animals as you can with reptiles, fish, and birds.
Yeah, I agree. I think most people could handle more inbreeding than they think, even with mammals.
The thing about it is with mammals is selection. That's the biggest problem right there. Is a lot of times people think, well, animals can't handle it because I've done it and it was a nightmare. It comes down to selection. You get back what you breed. It's as easy as that. But I think animals can handle much more than what people think they can.
I'll add to that too. I agree with that. It's selection, but it's also the numbers. Now with fish and birds, they can produce a lot of offspring, which works in their favors.
Mm-hmm.
That way, Mother Nature can weed out the weak and keep the strong, and then they can move forward. Where dogs or other mammals, they only have a few offspring here and there. They can't mass produce the offspring. So inbreeding happens faster, okay, with those things because they have fewer number of animals or offspring to work with. And Mother Nature can only weed out so many. And most mammals tend to be stronger overall than even birds. They have a better, stronger constitution usually. But it's all about the numbers, producing a large number of offspring. Mother Nature does her selection, weeds out the weak, which could be a lot of that number, and then the few that actually stand out are the strong that survive and be able to move forward and live just long enough to produce offspring themselves. And sometimes, like birds, we can have offspring in sometimes 6 months. I think dogs and other mammals take a little bit longer.
Much longer.
Yeah.
Much longer. And two, it's the culling aspect of it. We don't have no problem culling fish, birds, or reptiles, but it comes down, to the animals, especially domestic animals.
Look at rats.
Yeah.
Okay. You think they're being hybridized, or you think they're being there's outside blood coming into their family? No, usually outside blood comes in their family. They kill them.
They got pods. Yeah.
Okay. So they are breeding within their family. They're inbreeding, and they're producing a lot of animals. What's happening? Mother Nature weeds out the weak. The strong survive. They move on forward and reproduce themselves.
That was a good explanation of that, Kenny.
Yeah.
That was a good example. Terrific example.
Okay, question. If a bird gets injured during maturity, like bumblefoot, is it transmitted to the offspring or
not that?
Like not bumblefoot, but I mean, what if his pads are just kind of like weak pads and he's accessible to getting bumblefoot because he has
If it's genetic, yes.
That's a good point, Nancy. That's actually a good point, because if I see a lot of birds, let's say I have this family over here and they're in the same environment as this family over here, and these guys all get bumblefoot, then I can see there's a genetic issue there. Okay. But generally, if a bird just, if you have birds and one here and there gets bumblefoot, then I'm not worried about it being passed to the next generation. But anything that's affecting the structure of the bird or the physical side of the bird, or causing brittle bones or feathers that are brittle, that's a genetic thing, So
my cattle actually do a lot of culling for me.
They step on them.
They follow the cattle around, eating the insects off the legs of the cattle that's on them, and they will actually step on them. And the other ones learn this, and they stay off away, and they'll run in and get a fly or a bug that's on it, and then run back out. The ones that stayed under, they're not there anymore. So she ridded herself of all those.
Here's another way to look at it. Injury in itself is not a genetic issue. But why did they get injured, or how did they get injured? Because some, like a broken bone, this bird would get a broken bone because of that injury, but this one didn't under the same circumstances. So it's not the injury in itself that's genetic. It's
what allowed it.
What allowed it. Yeah, exactly. What allowed it to happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if it's just, if it's just that one, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just, need to put some litter in their cages, to make it a little bit easier on the land, or lower the roost down a little bit.
If you see its offspring doing it, then I may be concerned.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. And if it is genetically,
get rid of it.
It will show. It will show. It'll be the closer you breed and the longer you breed, the worse it will get.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one last question, a little off topic, but we'll allow it because it's our last question of the night. I think
this whole show has been off topic. What are you talking about?
No, not really. I don't think so. All right. Can Frank speak on the benefits of Milo in the feed?
Yeah, Jacob's probably getting that from the article that I put out today, this morning, I think it was, on Milo. There's a big deal with a lot of people in the game fowl community that thinks Milo sorghum is just a filler, that it has no nutritional value to it whatsoever. And that it does. It's high in starch. It's a great cooling type grain that you get a lot of starch from it. Sort of like corn, but not as hot as corn. But it's great to feed, especially in the hotter climates. Feed a lot of it. It's great for protein and great for the moat. It's awesome for the moat. But I thought I needed to put that out there because there's a lot of people just over the years that I've noticed. They're like, oh, I won't feed my chickens any type Milo or sorghum because it's just filler. It don't have any type of nutritional value to it. And it's totally the opposite. It does.
Is that it, Nancy?
That's it. So I've got one announcement for you guys. Frank, are you done talking about that?
I got one more thing, and I'll make it real fast for you, Nancy. Let me see if I can find it here. Anyway, I forget who it was, but they said that we was talking about earlier going and taking a chance on buying just one bird and bringing it home and taking a chance in 2 years. Well, he said that one breeder told him that you had to take the chance because if a breeder was being honest, and that the breeder knowed the bird. Well, yeah, that is true. The breeder does know the bird, the one that does it. But how many breeders that selling chickens is going to be honest with you and say that bird's no good? They're going to sell it whether, if you want to buy it, they're not going to tell you the truth about it if it's going to be good. 9 times out of 10, very few breeders would say that bird is no good. Don't buy it. Buy this one. Every bird's got a value.
Yeah. And if the phenotype of that bird is poor, then I don't care what the breeder says. I'm not buying it.
That's right. That's right. But that breeder, he raised that bird. He bred that bird. He should know everything about that bird. Now, here's the point. Here's the thing. Will he honestly tell you what you want to know truly about that bird? Or will he just tell you what you want to hear to get a sale out of you? That's the thing. But I agree with that, but I don't agree with that sort of type thing.
Yeah. Educate yourself. What makes up a proper bird?
Yep.
and go to their farm, educate it, and don't rely on just what they say. I mean, ask them questions, get a feel for what they say, but the bird's telling you a lot of what you need to know just by looking at it. Does it have the right type, conformation, color? Is it sick? Okay, that kind of thing.
It was Scott Hansford. I said, Frank, a breeder told me once, what you see is what you get. That was being honest. And he said it comes down to how good a breeder can select a bird for a breeder. But that breeder still has to be honest for that to work out, though.
Good advice.
Is that it?
All right. So just want to remind everybody, Cafe Press, you get that on there, right? There you go.
Ta-da.
Anybody who wants to buy a coffee mug, on it, plus there's other things that you get as well. Scan that QR code up there next to Frank's head, and it'll take you to Cafe Press, and there you can order your own personal coffee mug from the Breeders Academy. Okay. I think that's just about it.
Hey, you're lucky we got 15 more minutes because Nancy's the editor these days. I'm surprised she let us go over that much.
I know. They were good questions.
Okay.
I'm a sap. I know it. It's okay.
Okay. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. Great questions, a great topic. I really enjoy these type topics. Thanks, Frank, for joining us. I know you got something to do, so we need to let Frank run. And
all right.
we'll see.
I've got one more thing to say, though. Make sure that you catch the episode coming out on Monday. It's an audio version. You can go to Apple, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasting, Spotify. Catch those Monday audio shows, guys. The last one we did last Monday was the 10 Commandments of Breeding, and it was a really, really a good show. So make sure you get this week's show as well. So there you go. And that's all I have to say. Bye.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate you showing up.
As
always.
always.
It's awesome. Okay. See you guys next week. Bye. See you Monday.
Yeah, see you Monday.